Dylan, played by Sydney Bullock on The Bold and the Beautiful, has rapidly become one of the most intriguing additions to the cast in recent years. Miss Dylan, a seemingly regular art teacher, was introduced to Los Angeles high society and fashion intrigue through her link to Steffi Forrester's son, Hayes Forrester Finnegan. What began as a tiny role in summer school scenes quickly expanded into a full-time contract, drawing her deeper into the show's convoluted web of connections, secrets, and dramatic revelations. Her past has been revealed gradually, creating mystery about her origins, difficulties, and, most crucially, the identity of her biological mother, a matter that has inspired infinite conjecture among fans and within the tale itself. Dylan's arrival had a sense of fragility from the start. She was earnest, creative, and committed to her students, and was particularly pleased with Hayes' origami skills, prompting her to invite Luna Nozawa to cooperate on a class project. That innocent decision landed her in the middle of one of the show's most combustible plotlines. Luna, disguised as Miss Sunshine, used the circumstances to target Steffi while holding Dylan captive in a horrific episode. Dylan, bound and gagged, could only hear the mayhem, which included gunfire that injured Luna, Sheila Carter, and Liam Spencer. She emerged traumatized, but was unaware of the full extent of the situation until authorities interfered. This incident defined her as a survivor, caught in the crossfire of others' lunacy rather than initiating it herself. Dylan took months to return in a more prominent manner. Returning in late 2025, she reconnected with an old acquaintance, Electra Forrester, who revealed a heartbreaking truth. She was the driver of the automobile that struck and murdered Luna during her final attempt to flee the authorities. The accident was declared unintended, a tragic moment of fear on a dark road, and Luna's father, Finn Finnegan, offered his forgiveness after hearing her story. Dylan's confession further humanized her, depicting her as guilt-ridden and seeking forgiveness rather than malice. Electra and her partner, Will Spencer, stood with her throughout the experience, offering compassion and even temporary sanctuary while Dylan's life unraveled. That shelter arrived at a critical time. Dylan had fallen on hard times, living in her car and hiding her homelessness from her mother. In an open talk with Will, she stated that she couldn't bear to deviate from her mother's idealistic picture of her chasing the California dream. This revelation piqued Will's interest in her family history. Why the secrecy? Who was this mother, whose expectations were so heavy? Dylan characterized Mom as distant but affectionate, oblivious of her daughter's troubles in the city. The absence implied layers of shame, pride, or something more complicated, a strained relationship or a long-buried secret. Dylan's friendship with Will grew stronger, as did the complications. Living at his beach home garage apartment gave stability, but it also sparked jealousy and friction, especially among Electra, who felt threatened by the growing intimacy. Dylan's presence at Forrester Creations, first as a visitor and then as an employee following Steffi's hiring decision, put her fully in the family's orbit. Steffi, ever protective, recognized potential in the young woman despite her background with Luna's death. Dylan's transition from waiter at Il Giardino to a position at the legendary design brand was a turning point, an opportunity to rebuild. However, her upward mobility raised new suspicions about her history. How can a homeless instructor become a Forrester employee without any hidden links or influences? Fan theories erupted around these topics, particularly those concerning her parentage. Some suspected Dylan had strange ties to legacy villains, such as a grown Diana Carter, Sheila's long-lost daughter with Massimo Marone, who had resurfaced after many years. Others suggested more solid possibilities, such as her mother already being involved in the Forrester-Logan Spencer circles. Rumors circulated that Ivy Forrester's obsessive examination of Dylan, her attempts to push the newcomer away, labeling her not proper, came from a deeper recognition. Clips and debates emphasized Ivy's distress at discovering documents or hints pointing to a stunning mother link. In one popular hypothesis, Ivy discovers through old papers or a DNA suggestion that she gave birth to Dylan years ago, possibly during a forgotten or buried chapter of her life overseas. The concept holds significant weight. Ivy, Known for her Australian heritage, her previous romance with Liam, and her return to Los Angeles with a mix of elegance and meddling tendencies, fits the bill for someone who may have concealed a pregnancy. If accurate, the revelation would account for her helicopter-like meddling in Dylan's dealings with Will and Electra. It would turn her protective sentiments toward her niece Electra into something far more personal, a mother's worry of her own child upsetting family dynamics. Imagine Ivy reading over old files or confronting a private investigator's report, her face becoming pale as the name Dylan triggers a long-suppressed memory. The horror would be more than simply shock. It would include remorse, sorrow for abandoning or giving up the kid, and fear that the truth would destroy everything she had constructed. This potential bombshell is consistent with the show's predilection for paternity and maternity, shocks that rewrite history. Bold and Beautiful lives on DNA surprises, switched infants, covert adoptions, and forgotten affairs. Dylan's mother, Ivy, would bind her to the Forrester family by blood, not circumstance. It would give her a real stake in the empire, which could help explain her creative abilities or perseverance. Ivy's reaction, tears, denial, and eventual confrontation would give powerful material for the actress, elevating her from supporting role to pivotal figure in the drama. Of course, other possibilities remain. Some fans believe Brooke Logan is the hidden mother, a claim supported by typewriter font documents in spoilers that hint to recognizable names. Brooke's background of difficult parenthood and hidden children makes her a frequent suspect in such investigations. If Dylan was her biological daughter, possibly as a result of an overlooked affair or a juvenile indiscretion, the impact would be felt across generations, with Katie, Bill, and the entire Logan clan implicated. However, given current relationships, this is less plausible. Brooke's attention is elsewhere, and Ivy's storyline has recently been strangely focused on Dylan. Another perspective sees Dylan as a recast or recreated person, maybe reflecting Luna's manipulating tendencies without being an exact replica. Actress Sydney Bullock has refuted such claims, stating that her character is not a sociopath or Luna 2.0. Dylan may have a rebellious streak and a touch of opportunism, but she's shown as redeemable, sculpted by adversity rather than inherent evil. Her kiss with Will, as well as her comments about feeling protected and respected, portray her as emotionally weak rather than cunning. Regardless of Dylan's true identity, the build-up to his maternal reveal promises pyrotechnics. The program has teased it with cryptic confessions, Ivy's outbursts, and Dylan's guarded comments about her background. As she integrates with Forrester Creations, navigates her growing romance, and deals with Electra's wrath, the truth gradually emerges. When it appears, whether it is Ivy, Brooke, or someone completely unexpected, the impact will change alliances, provoke confrontations, and drive players to confront long-buried regrets. Dylan's journey from peripheral teacher to potential family cornerstone shows the bold and the beautiful's ability to transform strangers into core participants through secrets and shocks. Her mother's identity is more than just a story device. It's essential to understanding her motivations, tenacity, and place in this world of glitter and betrayal. The moment that woman steps forward, or is exposed, will give the kind of jaw-dropping twist that viewers want, illustrating once more that in soap operas, family links are rarely uncomplicated, and the past always finds a way to crash the present. Los Angeles residents' lives are rarely tranquil for long, and just when it appears that the dust has settled, a revelation shakes everything up again. Recently, whispers began to circulate among intimate friends and subsequently throughout the social scene. A woman has arisen claiming a profound and obvious connection to Dylan. Most people rejected it as another rumor, another attempt to introduce someone new into the complex web of relationships. However, when additional information emerged, it became increasingly difficult to disregard the claim. According to mounting evidence and the urging of those closest to the case, this enigmatic woman could be Dylan's biological mother. Dylan finds the possibility bizarre. His entire life has been based on the notion that his past was already known, even if parts of it were painful or incomplete. He grew up believing the story he was told was true, and that the people who nurtured him were aware of his origins. But now he's questioning all he thought he knew about his own identity. When the woman initially appeared, she didn't make a grand debut or quickly declare her claim to the world. Instead, she waited silently on the outskirts of the village, observing and asking delicate inquiries about Dylan's life. Those who observed her initially assumed she was just another visitor in town, inquisitive about the prominent families who control the local fashion and business worlds. However, there was something unusual about the way she watched Dylan. It wasn't the casual interest of a stranger. Her eyes were filled with emotion, a combination of longing, anguish, and reluctance. Anyone paying careful attention could see that she was carrying a story she had yet to tell. Eventually, the truth emerged through pieces of conversation and unexpected encounters. The woman claimed that she had led a very different life, distant from the affluent circles that now surround Dylan. Many years ago, she was forced to make a sad decision. She felt she had no choice but to give up her child, hoping that he would grow up in a safer and more stable home than she could provide. That youngster, she feels, is Dylan. The revelation immediately sparked disbelief. People close to Dylan struggled to comprehend how such a significant truth could have remained buried for so long. How could someone suddenly come years later and claim such a strong connection? Skepticism immediately spread, and some others requested verification before even considering the idea that the woman's account was true. Dylan was divided between curiosity and caution. Part of him wanted to deny the concept totally in order to preserve the life he had always known. But another part of him felt an unanticipated connection to the woman and her narrative. There were minor details she provided that appeared impossible for a stranger to understand. She discussed the circumstances surrounding his birth, events that occurred long before he could recall them. The reaction of individuals who had been a part of Dylan's life since the beginning added to the complexity of the situation. Some were extremely protective, concerned that this woman's appearance might disturb already fragile connections. They questioned her motives, wondering if she was trying to get attention, money, or influence by tying herself to Dylan's narrative. Others, however, could not deny the emotional genuineness of her statements. She made no demands from Dylan. She did not want recognition or rapid approval. Instead, she just pleaded for the opportunity to share her entire story, in the hopes that the truth, whatever it was, would eventually be revealed. As the days passed, additional clues emerged. Old documents were quietly inspected. The dates and records were compared. Certain recollections from the past appeared less distinct than they once did. A few people who had been present throughout Dylan's early years began to question information they had previously taken for granted. One particularly frightening moment occurred when the woman disclosed an item that she had kept hidden for decades. It was a modest object related to Dylan's birth that she had kept through every adversity and change in her life. When Dylan viewed it, he felt an unexpected surge of emotions. The thing was simple, but the tale behind it was compelling. However, proof would ultimately be required. In a society where secrets may lead to manipulation, no one was willing to rely solely on feeling. Conversations shifted to the prospect of a medical test that may determine the facts beyond a doubt. The suggestion triggered a new surge of tension. To Dylan, agreeing to such a test meant embracing the risk that his entire understanding of his past would shift forever. However, the woman did not hesitate. She instantly consented, stating that the truth was all she wanted. Many individuals who had previously questioned her narrative were taken aback by her assurance. If she was lying, they reasoned, she would most likely avoid a test that would reveal the deceit right away. As the crisis progressed, feelings in the community grew stronger. Some people pushed Dylan to take the test, claiming that knowing the truth would provide closure regardless of the outcome. Others told him that revisiting concerns about his history could lead to unnecessary pain. Meanwhile, the woman continued to share aspects of her past. She detailed the challenging circumstances surrounding Dylan's birth, the pressures she felt at the time, and the terror that drove her decision to give up her kid. Her narrative wasn't glamorous. It was riddled with blunders, regret, and the long-lasting aftermath of a decision she had never fully recovered from. Years later, after finally settling into her life, she began looking for the kid she had lost. The process was slow and difficult. The records were incomplete. Names had changed. Certain persons who may have known the truth refused to discuss the past. Nonetheless, she continued, propelled by a determination that many found both tragic and inspiring. Her search eventually took her to Los Angeles, where she became intrigued by whispers about Dylan's origins. The more she learned, the more certain she was that he was the child she had been forced to leave behind. However, even after landing in the city, she was hesitant to show herself. She worried rejection, disbelief, and the chance that her presence would be harmful rather than beneficial. Dylan found the complete narrative overwhelming. He knew the woman in front of him wasn't just making a big assertion. She held decades of emotion over the chance that he was her son. Her voice trembled as she remembered seeing him again from a distance and identifying familiar traits that reminded her of the infant she had very briefly touched. The wait for the test results felt forever. Every conversation seemed to come back to the same question. Could this woman really be Dylan's mother? Speculation circulated quickly, and each new notion increased tension among those concerned. Some were concerned that if the story were accurate, it would reveal more long-buried secrets. After all, if Dylan's Genesis story was not what everyone believed, someone had to have purposefully buried the truth. That possibility sparked uneasy concerns about who knew what and why the secret had been held so long. When the day arrived for the results to be revealed, emotions were high. Dylan strained to remain steady as he prepared to learn something that would permanently change his identity. The woman sat silently close, hands clasped, plainly afraid but hopeful. The moment of truth felt almost surreal. For a long time, no one spoke while the results envelope rested on the table. The weight of the decision to open it appeared huge, as if the entire destiny of several people was contained within those folded pages. When the results were finally presented, the reaction in the room was swift and fierce. Everyone present was overcome with shock, amazement, and intense emotion. The fact was undeniable. Dylan felt a genuine connection with the woman. She was, without a doubt, his biological mother. Dylan experienced a complex range of emotions in response to the confirmation. Relief mixed with bewilderment, joy with grief. He had finally discovered the truth about his origins, but this revelation sparked new doubts about the life he had led up to this point. The woman was filled with emotion and fought to talk through tears. For decades, she had worried what had become of the kid she had lost. She realized he had matured into the guy standing in front of her. She didn't expect immediate forgiveness. She simply hoped that, over time, they might develop a relationship. Those around them had various reactions to their emotional reunion. Some were greatly moved by the concept that a mother and son had reconnected after so many years apart. Others remained wary, knowing that even the truth does not immediately heal every pain left by the past. As the story progresses, one thing is clear. The discovery has changed everything. Dylan must now traverse a new reality in which his past involves a lady he's never met, a woman who has spent years looking for him. Their connection does not erase his previous existence, but it does add an important new chapter to his journey. It's unclear whether their relationship will strengthen or suffer unanticipated challenges. One thing is certain, the truth has finally emerged from the shadows. Dylan finally knows who his mother truly is, after years of silence and unanswered questions, and that revelation will affect the future in unexpected ways.